Welcome to Drum Corps Central, a podcast. I'm a 13-year-old drum corps superfan who loves all forms of the marching arts. Thanks for watching the podcast today. There will be an almost daily episode of this podcast recapping the previous night's drum corps scores and looking ahead. Today is Tuesday, June 26, 2018, and we are into the first full week of the 2018 Drum Corps International Summer Tour. Today we're going to recap the scores from last night in Mason, Ohio. There are no shows today, so we're going to take a look back at what's already happened this season. So let's get started. So first, let's look at the scores from last night, Mason, Ohio, Summer Music Games in Cincinnati. In all age class, Cincinnati Tradition was the only competing corps with a 65, that is 0.55. They are judged on different sheets than world class. It's the same judges, but it's just a different sheet. It's not the same thing world class corps are judged on. So you might see that 65 and say, well, that's very close to Crossman. Would they be in finals? No, they're judged on different sheets. Now they might be, but they are. So then in world class, the Bluecoats, they were first with a 74.2. Carolina Crown second, a 73.35. Boston Crusaders third, a 71.3. Phantom Regiment was fourth with a 66.95. Fifth was the Crossman with a 66.75. Madison Scouts sixth with a 63.55. And Pioneer was seventh with a 50.4. Few things to point out here. The Bluecoats and Crown, they maintain a solid lead over the Boston Crusaders. The Bluecoats don't stretch that lead over Crown. Actually, it goes away just a little bit, but it's still close to that 1 point mark. Something intriguing here, Phantom and Crossman. This is just 0.2 of a point between those two. That's something we're going to have to watch as we go down the road this summer. Madison Scouts solid 6th, Pioneer solid 7th. Now the scoring recap for last night's Summer Music Games in Cincinnati. I actually have the recaps put into the show today, so you can also view these, of course, at dci.org, but here they are. Cincinnati Tradition, only all-age class. I'm not going to go into that. If there were more than one corps, maybe I would, in terms of what it means for DCA, but I'm not going to go there. So for world class, the Bluecoats general effect score, that is very high. It's 0.5 of a point over Carolina Crown. Third was Boston. Fourth was the Crossman. Fifth was Phantom. There's that kind of thing we've been talking about. 27 even for Crossman, 26.70 for Phantom. So that's 0.3 of a point right there between the Crossman and Phantom Regiment, just in general effect. Then over in visual proficiency, that goes down as it is, 1, 2, 3, etc. Visual analysis, Crossman do pass Phantom there by 0.1, and Color Guard, Phantom regains that back. So overall visual, it goes as it is, 1, 2, 3, etc. Music, then, this is kind of where it gets a little bit more intriguing up at the top with Bluecoats and Crown. Crown 14.9 and brass 14.70 for the Bluecoats and brass. Then music analysis, the Bluecoats take that back, and in percussion, the Crown takes that back, and Bluecoats second by 0.3. Crown's percussion definitely stepping up to the next level this year. Also in percussion, Crossman fourth, Phantom fifth by a whole 0.3. Overall music, Crown wins it, so it's them first, Bluecoats second, and then as is down. So that's how those scores were, those scores. Now let's take a look at the world-class leaderboard for today. So I also have this put into the show today. The Bluecoats, they're first, Crown second. But this is probably because those West Coast corps did not have a show last night. So maybe the Bluecoats would be first. Maybe Crown would be second, but I don't know really right now if that's really how it would be, especially with the mixing up of Blue Devils and Vanguard out on the West Coast. So the next time we see Blue Devils versus Vanguard is Pasadena on Saturday. The Blue Devils don't join all those West Coast corps on Friday in Oceanside. They wait till Saturday in Pasadena to resume their. So let's also take a look down here towards the bottom with the finalist breakdown, if you will. So let's say within 2 points, really it's a good margin for all these corps. It's not very short. It's kind of large. So Mandarins, Blue Stars, they're looking fine right now. Madison and the Academy look like they just got a little bit work to do. And the Colts, they've only had one show. They'll be back in action tomorrow night in Evansville, but they've only had one show. We've only seen one of their scores. And compared to some of these other corps, the Troopers have had 3 shows, I think. So have the Academy. I think Madison's had 2 shows, maybe even 3. So the Colts just having one show and already being at that 63.05 within 4/10 right now of Madison, that's looking really good for the Colts. So instead of taking a look ahead today, let's take a look back to what's already happened this season. No shows today, so no schedules to go over. We'll do that tomorrow. The Bluecoats, they have recovered. They went from world champions in 2016 to 5th in 2017. They've regained the momentum that they had lost last year, going from 1st to 5th, and they have defeated Carolina Crown in all 3 head-to-head appearances so far this season. They don't see each other this week because Crown goes out to the Midwest. The Bluecoats come to the East Coast, so they get to see each other in, I believe, the following week. Santa Clara Vanguard, they stunned the Blue Devils, but not for long. Santa Clara Vanguard came as close as 13 thousandths of a point last year to defeating the Blue Devils, but they couldn't get the deal done last year. The Blue Devils went undefeated. But at DCI West this Saturday, Vanguard finally defeated BD, but not for long. The Blue Devils stormed back and took the West Coast lead on Sunday night in Sacramento. Finally, well, for this slide, the Mandarins surprised the Blue Knights. The Mandarins had their best finish all time last season in 13th. But this season, they're already showing that they will probably be in finals, if not the top 10. They came just 0.6 away from the Blue Knights, who finished 8th last season, and we're showing that they might even be higher this season, potentially getting 7th or maybe even to 6th. The Mandarins just 0.6 away. Now, that could be a really good run for the Mandarins, or that could be a really bad run for the Blue Knights. It could be one of those scenarios. It could be a judging panel thing. But from what we saw on Sunday night in Sacramento, it's kind of the Mandarins' home show, too. The Mandarins are really surprising, I think, the Blue Knights right now. Now a little bit more information on this slide. So far this season, the Colts have come close to the Madison Scouts. The Dubuque, Iowa Colts have not made finals since 2007. This year, they are already showing that they might be a force to reckon with to make finals. On Saturday night in Whitewater, as I said earlier, the Colts have had only one show. On Saturday night in Whitewater, the Corps came within a half a point of the Madison Scouts. I think it was actually a quarter point, who were a finalist last summer. So the Colts are really close to the Madison Scouts. Now, this could be that Madison's lost a little bit. We've seen that. I think they're 14th on the leaderboard right now, maybe 13th. But the Colts coming that close to them, that's promising for the Colts. Having just one show, that first show you go out there and you come that close, what are they going to be when we see them in Evansville tomorrow or later down the road? I think that it'll be an intriguing outlook to see who are those corps that are going to be in finals and who's out. Because as I have on here also, that Crossman and Phantom battle we started seeing last night, could either of them be in jeopardy of not making finals, or maybe the Blue Stars? And then there's corps that want to get in, or Madison, one that might slip out. Mandarins, Academy, Colts, Spirit, Troopers, they're all going to be right there. Sorry if I missed any. Mandarins are already in, but those corps are going to be there, and they're going to be there, and they're not going to let the Crossman slide up. They're going to take that spot from them. And I think that, I'm just using the Crossmen as an example right there, but I think that this year, those like 10 through 15 cores are so kind of equal, not like the shows, but like the results we're already seeing. I think that it could just become very intriguing when we get to semifinals in August, when that cut for finals is right there. Meanwhile, in Open Class, the two world-class affiliated corps that dominate, Vanguard Cadets and Blue Devils B, have won every Open Class championship since 2013. Vanguard Cadets won in 2013, 15, and 17, while BDB won in 2014 and 2016. Now, if that trend proves true, that Vanguard Cadets kind of win in odd years and Blue Devils B win in even years, it shows that Blue Devils B might be the corps with the upper hand this season. And it already has. In 3 head-to-head meetings, Blue Devils B has won them all. Now, one thing I just want to point out here, I don't think Vanguard Cadets have their uniforms yet. So without their uniforms, they're kind of losing points here and there. But if they do have their uniforms, this is good for Blue Devils B. But if they don't have their uniforms, I think Blue Devils B needs to just gain something, because when Vanguard Cadet storms out of the gate with the uniforms, it's going to be hard to contain them, kind of. And this happened last year. Blue Devils B, they won these first few shows, but Vanguard Cadets, by the time late July when they all competed again, Vanguard Cadets was in the lead, and they won Open Class last year. So lots of things can change between now and just July, just 5 days from now. Meanwhile, back in World Class, Crossmen sneaked up to Phantom last night. Phantom Regiment, they have been a top 10 corps every year since 1975. Meanwhile, the Crossmen have been no higher than 10th since 2004. One of those 10th place finishes was in 2016. They were 10th in 2016, 11th last year. Meanwhile, last night, found themselves surprisingly close to Phantom. They were just 0.2 away from upsetting them. And now, is it an upset? Or are the Crossmen just really good this year and Phantom's kind of where they were the past few seasons? There's a lot of things to look at. But this is just a little bit of an outlook at what's already happened this season and kind of what it means going forward. I mean, July is the month where really, at the end of this week, the corps are going to be putting their first closers on the field. Right now, like Crown, they don't have their closer on the field yet. But by probably the end of this week, probably by Muncie, they will have it on the field in competition. Now, how will that affect the scores? Now, the Bluecoats have something too. They're going to start adding things to their shows as July goes on. And then by the end of July, that's really, and beginning of August, that's really when we'll see those corps putting those finishing touches on those shows, saying kind of, this is what we got, and this is what we're going to go to these final regionals and Indianapolis and see what we got and how we place going into finals. So as we begin July over the next few days, this is the crunch time to where we'll really be seeing these corps. Where are they really going to be, especially when we get down the road to San Antonio about mid-month? Where are they going to be? Who knows at this point. Lastly, just a few things. Make sure you're visiting drumcorpscentral.weebly.com for all the latest updates on tour. Twitter and Instagram, follow me at Drum Corps Geek, and on YouTube, subscribe to Drum Corps Central. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll go over the lineup for Evansville and maybe another look back. But that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in.